What's up guys, Readiness Reviews here with you again. This box contains the latest addition to my military surplus firearms collection, the Cold War Polish P-64 pistol. A decade ago or so, these handguns had a whole lot of hype because they were extremely inexpensive, but today's prices for the P-64 is pretty outrageous. I've wanted one of these handguns for a very long time, but I'm just not sure if it was worth the $365 investment I had to make to get my hands on this one. So let's get this Empire Arms box open to see what kind of condition this pistol's in, and after we put some rounds through it, you guys can let me know whether or not you think it was worth it. I'm super excited to see my individual example here. Empire Arms said that these pistols were in excellent condition, and typically their ratings are very accurate. As usual with Empire Arms, the shipping was ridiculously fast. I think this box arrived 2 days after ordering. Got some paper in there for protection and 2 little internal packages. Looks like they put the pistol itself in a UPS padded envelope here. And there it is. Boy, that is shiny. Of course, out of the box, we are clear. And man, they were not lying about it being in excellent condition. This thing looks nearly factory new. Tiny little imperfection in the checkering there. But other than that, and a little scratch on the bottom of the grips, this thing is in outstanding condition. Beautiful shiny blue with very little holster wear. I believe this other little package is our spare magazine. Yep. And this spare has an electro-penciled serial number and just a few little spots of rust. Our magazine that came in the pistol also has an electro-penciled serial number, but it is in far nicer condition, pretty much looks brand new just like the pistol. Our serial numbers on the frame and slide are matching. Both of the magazines, however, are non-matching, and that's pretty common with these P-64s. There's our importation stamp. Looks like it was PW Arms, and they do specify that it is 9x18 Makarov. From Poland, the side is stamped 9mm, not to be confused with 9x19 Parabellum. It is a P-64. There's our Polish Circle 11, which indicates it was made at the Readiness factory, and our production date makes this one of my newer CNR firearms, being made in 1973. There are various other proof markings on the frame around the trigger. I'm not sure what those are individually. If you do know, let me know down in the comments. And there's a couple more here just below where the hammer is. Build stripping these Cold War Milsurps is ridiculously easy. It's very similar to both the Walther PP and Makarov pistols. Pull down on the trigger guard and simply retract the slide and lift upwards. There it is. We have a recoil spring that has a big end and a little end. The little end fits next to the barrel. This is a very clean looking example internally, but we can definitely tell that it has been shot because there is some wear on the metal. Let's see how this bore's looking. Yeah, man, perfectly shiny. Absolutely gorgeous. Really good looking sharp crown as well. The P-64 is usually a very accurate shooter. That's a result of this non-moving locked in place barrel. These pistols are equipped with a decocker safety. The hammer's back, so we are cocked. It is currently on fire, but if we put the pistol on safe, it drops the hammer. While in the safe position, the trigger is disconnected, so it does absolutely nothing. And there's actually an internal hammer block, so this is a very safe firearm. Now, of course, one of the primary features of the P-64 is it being a double action, single action handgun. So if we take this firearm off safe, we are still decocked because the hammer is down. If we pull the trigger though, we can see it pulling the hammer back. And with this extremely strong trigger pull, it does fire when you pull it through. Now this does have a blowback action, so if there would have been a round expelled, the slide would have went to the rear, cycling and recocking the action. And now instead of that ridiculously heavy double action trigger pull, we get a very crisp, clean, and soft single action pull. Aside from general ergonomics, one of the main complaints the P-64 gets is its very tiny sights. We have a dovetailed rear sight and a fixed blade front sight. Some really nice checkering on the top strap here, but as we can see, that sight picture is very basic and the sights are pretty darn tiny for the overall size of the pistol. In my opinion, these sights are by no means good, but they are most certainly adequate. I do find it a little bit interesting though that these pistols are zeroed at a very optimistic 50 meters. As long as it's in single action, I don't doubt that the pistol can achieve that kind of distance, but it would most certainly need a competent shooter behind it. All in all, I am extremely happy with this example that I received from Empire Arms. I've wanted a P-64 in the collection for a very long time, and I really couldn't have asked for a better example of the pistol. This one is beautiful. I think we need to discuss the overall design a little more in depth though. The P-64 has long been a controversial pistol, both from a modern practical standpoint and where it fits in historically. Post-World War II, Poland found itself under Soviet influence, and like many Warsaw Pact nations, in the 1950s, Poland started making moves to replace its Visor 33 Tokarev type pistols. Poland was looking for a modern handgun design for both military and police use. And so in 1958, there was a competition held for new handgun designs. From that competition, the CZAK prototype was chosen. 2 individual prototypes to be more specific, the Model M for police use and the Model W for military use. The police Model M had a small overall size and 6-round magazine capacity. However, it was chambered in .380 ACP. The military Model W, on the other hand, had a longer barrel and a 7-round magazine capacity of the 9x18 Makarov cartridge to maintain compatibility with the most modern Warsaw Pact standards. Ultimately, they decided to standardize on the smaller Model M with 6-round magazine capacity, but they did choose to chamber the pistol in that 9mm Makarov cartridge of the Model W, and thus the P-64 was born. In 1965, this handgun went into service for Polish military, police, and security forces, and after many decades in service, tons of these pistols were surplused out and imported to the United States, where they have been enjoyed by our collector market. The P-64 has a simple blowback action. It is quite similar to the Walther PP and PPK pistol. Sometimes you'll hear this referred to as the Polish Makarov, but the only real similarity it shares with the Soviet Makarov is the 9x18 chambering and the disassembly of the pistol. Although it is pretty similar to the PPK, the P-64 is a distinctly unique design and does have its very own Polish patent. Now, as I just mentioned, the P-64 replaced the Tokarev in Polish service, and in some people's opinion, that might have been a big mistake. P-64 is a more modern firearm design for sure, but I'll admit they made some really odd choices. For one thing, it is an extremely compact size for a service arm. If we compare the pistols side by side, the Tokarev certainly seems to be a more standard service pistol size. That minuscule 6-round magazine capacity is most certainly a downside, and the double action trigger pull in this thing is absolutely insane, making it nearly impossible to hit your target if you're pulling straight through on your first round. The Tokarev that it replaced was a very simple, single action only design. They have a decent enough trigger, sights that are roughly equivalent to the P-64, but the Tokarev has an 8-round standard magazine capacity, meaning that its replacement was a 2-round downgrade. I'll leave it up to you guys to decide whether or not you think the P-64 was an upgrade or a downgrade when compared to the Tokarev, but I think increasing the size of this pistol a little bit to accommodate more ammunition would have been a much smarter move. Let's take the Czech CZ82 for instance. It's not that much bigger, but its double stack magazine allows for literally twice the round count, and it is a much softer shooter. Nothing to do with the size, but I will mention the CZ82 has an infinitely nicer double action trigger as well. I remember when imports of these pistols were coming in like crazy, and they were super cheap, coming in at about $150. Back then, the P-64 did garner some level of popularity here in the United States as a super cheap CCW option. Because of nothing else, this pistol does have a very compact overall size and is not crazy heavy, coming in at only about 22 ounces unloaded. Even though they were cheap, these pistols have always been heavily criticized for the absolutely ridiculously heavy double action trigger, and this small size combined with a simple blowback action and non-ideal grip ergonomics lead to a very heavy recoiling firearm. To be honest, the P-64 is pretty uncomfortable to shoot. In felt recoil, I would equate it to something like shooting a J-frame revolver chambered in .357 Magnum. Nowadays, there are very few imports of new P-64s, so they don't have the popularity that they did back in the day, but that has not stopped prices on these pistols from absolutely going through the roof. I feel lucky that I was able to acquire the example that I have here for $365 here in 2024. I'm seeing these fetch prices at $400 or more on a very common basis, and I don't expect that price appreciation to stop anytime soon. Just like with all surplus firearms, it is a supply and demand scenario. When there is very little supply, but still demand, price has to go up. This is a cool pistol, but a far from perfect design. And so I'm still undecided on whether or not I believe these are actually worth as much as they're going for on today's market. I suppose as time goes on, we'll find out, but I think that about does it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the thumbs up to help it out with the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my future military surplus firearm videos. Let me know what you think about the video, and the Polish P-64 down in the comments. Was this a decent pickup for the collection or a complete waste of money? And I will catch you guys in the next video. See you then. Peace.